Welcome back to this broadcast, live broadcast from Bob Jane Stadium, wherever you're streaming this worldwide. And if you are watching this in Victoria, it is a good evening to you all. And Dave, we're speaking about the Victorian Premier League and a 6-pointer already between the Green Gully Cavaliers and South Melbourne. Some shock results already in this competition leading up to round 4. And who would have thought, word just in from Paisley Reserve, the Altona Magic, the reigning champions, losing by a goal to nil to Northcote City, the newly promoted club.
I'll tell you what, Northcote City, who played out a 3-3 thriller last week at John Cain Reserve against South Melbourne, suddenly a team that we perhaps didn't pick as being likely to be at the pointy end, are showing a bit of form early on. Maybe we've underestimated them. Maybe they've got a bit more than we thought. Well,
I'll tell you what, these early season predictions, there's no doubt, particularly in my opinion, South Melbourne have the best squad and they've done the best recruiting in the off-season, and it's a very talented squad at their disposal, and yet despite the talent, only 3 points to show from 3 starts.
Absolutely, and I think, as we said a moment ago, it certainly is good football that's being played. It's exciting, it's entertaining, there's goals being scored, but 3 games, 3 draws. I think really if they're going to be serious about their finals contentions and placing themselves strongly at the end of the regular season, they need to look at winning this game here today and getting their season on a roll.
And speaking of getting their season on a roll, the Green Gully Cavaliers have certainly had their headaches early on this season. A very consistent club that qualified for the finals, over the last 5 years. While they're missing the services of their star striker, Joel Nikolic, who's out with a knee reconstruction. There's a lot of pressure on Peter Ollerton to have faith in Gary Wales and Nicholas Robinson up front for the Cavaliers, relying on those two. They're coming to the club to score goals because it has been a problem for the Cavaliers early on this season.
And at South Melbourne, not without their injury concerns themselves. Of course, Joseph Keenan hasn't yet made his full debut, having suffered pancreatitis, has been out for a few weeks and is still recuperating. And Rodri Payne, the young left back, hurt his Achilles tendon in the warm-up against Northcote last week, was pulled out last second, causing a bit of a reshuffle. I suspect you'll see Rama switch to the left-hand side, and I suspect it may be young James Stefanou going to right back.
And Peter Ollerton, too, has made some changes, as we mentioned in the introduction. Joshua Groenewald and Ryan Ollerton coming on, replacing Dean Fack in particular, and also Jonathan Munoz, who has been relegated to the bench for this game, most probably due to injury, because Jonathan Munoz has been an absolute star playing in that left full-back position for Green Gully, and a chance for Joshua Groenewald to really prove his worth. He's come on as a substitute the last 2 weeks, yet to score a goal, and as we mentioned, Peter Ollerton just coming on to Bob Jane Stadium, and so too the players and the officials will be getting ready. And Dave, it's South Melbourne's last hit out at Bob Jane Stadium for a while, obviously with the Grand Prix on next week.
Yes, of course, we've got a few cages around. It's a bit like an old wrestling arena down here, Simon. Good atmosphere building up, mind you, but a bit funny with these cages around. Not entirely my style, but of course the Grand Prix is an iconic event here in Melbourne.
Even the Melways definitely would have struggled to get you here, David, in one piece. It is a complete maze getting into Albert Park with the reconfiguration for the Formula One Grand Prix next week. And it just won't be Michael Schumacher that's the start at Albert Park next week. I can guarantee you there'll be a few stars on the park here at Bob Jane Stadium this afternoon.
Speaking of stars on the park, a few years ago, Gianni Nittis was the goal-scoring hero in the grand final. Last couple of weeks, he's had a bit of a tough job trying to be a lone striker for South. Doesn't look like it's a role that he's really been comfortable with. I suspect the inclusion of Joseph Youssef will be as a second striker, and I think Vaughan Coveny has gone for the 2 men up front to support Nittis and to try and get him into a bit more goal-scoring form.
And turning the attention from up front to South, back into the defensive lineup. But good to see the former Altona Magic captain, Stiven Mrkela, back in form this season and injury-free.
And as they make their way onto the ground, Mrkela holds a lot of keys at South Melbourne. He's a talented, classy player with experience and leadership. Someone like him could help marshal your back four, especially with the loss of Rodri Payne.
And while Green Gully and South Melbourne making their way out onto Bob Jane Stadium, and it's an absolute crucial 6-pointer. Fernando de Moraes, last one out. The futsal route, back from duties overseas, playing for Australia, and making the transition with ease from the indoor to the outdoor form of the game.
Well, he's a classy player. He's got a lot of talent. He's got some amazing foot skills. And if you ever get a chance to see him in the futsal arena, I highly suggest you check him out because he's something to behold.
Well, match referee Hayward Brenton and his officials just exchanging a shake. And we're all about ready for kickoff here at Bob Jane Stadium. A couple of minutes before 5 o'clock daylight Eastern Standard Time. Wherever you're streaming in, we trust you're enjoying the coverage, and the crowd building up here at Bob Jane Stadium, probably short of anywhere between 800 to 1,000 people in the Clarendon corner. most vocal component here at Bob Jane Stadium, making their way onto the outer flank too.
They are always in good voice, Simon. They provide great entertainment, great atmosphere. They're something we love to have here in football. Good crowd always makes a game that much more exciting.
Well, two talented captains, Rama Tavsancioglu for South Melbourne and Jeffrey Fleming, the former All-White for New Zealand. Toss of the coin about to occur. And Green Gully, it's a ground that hasn't haunted the Cavaliers in previous years. South Melbourne's definitely had the upper hand in the last year or two, but Green Gully have certainly had their share of wins here in the last couple of years. In fact, if I remember, David, I think they knocked South Melbourne out of a elimination final here a couple of years ago. So it's a ground that they're certainly not fearful of playing.
And it always seems, Simon, that whenever South play Gully, no matter how they're placed on the table, they always seem to struggle. It's a side that, for whatever reason, has seemed to have proved a bogey side for the South Melbourne boys, no matter whether they're up or down.
Well, regardless of the bogey factor, the manager, Vaughan, Coveny, definitely knows that for his and their squad season to get on the upper hand, it's an absolute must-win, particularly for South Melbourne for a few reasons. Not only to get their season back on track, but they will be playing their next few games away from home with the Grand Prix on here at Albert Park next week, and it's absolutely critical to be picking up those points at home.
Well, you really do need to. I mean, especially early in the season. I know we say it and we go on about it, but you've got to help yourself early in the season so you don't play catch-up football. There's nothing worse.
And the Green Gully Cavaliers, it's a tight and organised pack. The Chargers are motivated. And so too South Melbourne. Hayward, Brenton. All is in ready for kickoff. And it'll be Green Gully, the visitors, kicking from right to left of your screen. Kenny, Gerohristodoulou. And Graham Hockless, the former gold medalist, formerly of Richmond and Heidelberg, and now a Green Gully Cavalier this season, kicks off this round 4 game in the Victorian Premier League. South Melbourne and Green Gully. His first touch, Groenewald, searching for an option in the box. One of them's Wales. Groenewald playing it short. Good start this from the Cavaliers, and they draw a corner only after 15 seconds.
Well, positivity straight from the kickoff there, Simon, and I was almost right with my predictions. It's in fact Stiven Mrkela who's moved to right back and Stefanou staying in the centre. But that's a good sign for the Cavaliers early. They've gone straight for the jugular and winning a corner. Set piece in the first minute.
And Hockless will slice this in, and quite powerfully too. Both he and Andy Vargas, corner specialists for Green Gully. Low ball cleared by South Melbourne.
Fernando now uses the run on the right-hand side. Here's Nittis. Goes for a bit of a gallop. He's got Recchia. Recchia looks on the right-hand side for the cross. Goes long and deep for Yusuf. Gerohristodoulou punch as well. South Melbourne end-to-end football already. Straight away looking for that early goal.
Attacking football from both clubs. Green Gully from the outstart, and South Melbourne with the sucker punch immediately.
And as expected, and I think this is an excellent move by Vaughan Coveny, bringing Joseph Youssef on to partner Gianni Nittis. I think sharing the workload up front is essential. South Melbourne with so much quality across the defence and the midfield really need extra support up front. Nittis now with Recchia. Recchia back now after a bit of time off with injury. And O'Dore hoofs clear. Nittis flagged offside.
Well, no shortage of action in the opening minute or two. Both sets of defences stretched already, and Kenny Gerohristodoulou, what a find he's been for Green Gully this season, already in the thick of the action.
Well, a talented keeper, Simon. Of course, when we debuted this live streaming a few weeks ago, saved a penalty against Hume and showed his class repeatedly in that game. Recchia puts it up high. Gasparis on the left. Bit of a jostle, and Gully with the free kick just inside the south half.
The Andy Vargas to take the set piece. In fact, Steve Burton freeing the services of his left boot. And it's a crowded box. Burton fires it in. O'Donnell clearing for South Melbourne. Ollerton combined with Burton will send it back in. And no green and white shirts available, only Stefanou for South Melbourne. But a throw deep for Green Gully in South Melbourne's half.
Gully couldn't find any tall timber in the box there. Some great set piece takers. It might be the trouble is the conversion. So we'll have to see how that one pans out.
Hockless towards the tall timber of Drake. Winning that was O'Donnell. Burton. And not bothering Hockless.
The chant starting up on the far side. The South fans getting in good voice. They're as desperate as anyone for that first win of the season. Almost as much as Vaughan Coveny, who wants to get that monkey off the back.
Certainly does, the new manager and former South Melbourne great. What a player he's been in the NSL, VPL. Not just for his club, but for his country too, New Zealand. I'm sure he's just a shame for in fact, the free kick taken quickly, rather. Vaughan Coveny, not a few years younger, and a chance for possibly play for the All Whites in the World Cup. As South Melbourne stretched forward, has the runner wide, Nittis, and opted not to flick it off earlier there, Youssef.
What can they do now? Stefanou. Bit of space in front of Vasilevski, coming off his 2-goal heroics last week. They decide to rebuild. Stefanou, becoming a bit of a fan favourite. Recchia, coming back to South Melbourne, of course, spending a season here during the NSL in 2004.
And coming back with a championship medal with him too, with the Altona Magic.
Now in the middle. Vasilevski for Fernando. 3 goals himself this season. Nittis on the right. Sits up. Uses the run of Fernando. Keeps his feet, but can't keep on the ball. And Gully, in the end, happy to hoof it away. Well, some dangerous men in the middle of the park, particularly Vasilevski and Fernando de Moraes. 2 and 3 goals, respectively, this season. And Vasilevski, I think, possibly the find of the summer, as Yusuf jostles on the edge of the area and goes down, and it's pointed at the spot. The referee, with no hesitation, Yusuf trying to skip around his man.
And it was Medjedovic, the culprit, and there's no word from Medjedovic complaining to the referee. It looked quite obvious, and the referee had no other option.
Well, Fernando de Moraes will step up to the spot here. He's taken penalties for a number of years here, Fernando. He's got Kenny Gerohristodoulou to beat. Well, 5 minutes in and we're looking to break the deadlock. De Moraes steps up. No mistake. 1-0 South Melbourne, Fernando de Moraes. He's scored in every match so far this season. A cool head. Just slotted it low on the left, past Gerohristodoulou. Fernando de Moraes, 4 goals in 4 matches, fantastic form. And there you go, already Youssef being talked about as a key player to be brought into the side, using his strength and his size to try and take it around his Green Gully marker, and just got brought down in the end, earning the penalty, and it's 1-0 South Melbourne.
And he troubled Medjedovic, and Medjedovic, what a clean tackle only moments ago. And he's gone from hero to villain, conceding the penalty, and there was definitely no argument there from Medjedovic. Knew he conceded the foul, and the penalty instantly rewarded, and Fernando de Moraes, aren't South Melbourne relieved? He's back home in one piece. Serving with the futsal ruse, brought back on from the bench.
He's so crucial to this team, Simon. You take the championship year South Melbourne had in 2006, and Fernando de Moraes was, at least in my opinion, probably the best player in the league. Spent 4 weeks overseas on trial in Greece, and missed out on the VPL gold medal that year, but certainly was undoubtedly the man of the grand final that year, setting up the Nittis goal as free kick to Gully this time. It looks like Jeffrey Fleming might take it. Beg your pardon. It's in fact...
Well, Medjedovic was going to take it, Dave, but it will be Kenny G, Kyriakos Gerohristodoulou to take it.
I think Mrkela will be disappointed with that effort, Simon. He's a strong man, and he's better than that. He'll chalk that one up as a mistake in his book.
He certainly will. South Melbourne started on a positive note. Already one goal up over the Cavaliers. That penalty successfully converted after 7 minutes by Fernando de Moraes. Ollerton finding Robinson in the middle of the park. The square across his defence, Medjedovic. Here's Fleming. Pressure there once again. That man, Fernando de Moraes.
Well, when he's on, Simon. You know he's doing well when he's chasing every ball. When he goes for the 1%ers, the follow-ups, he does the defensive work. That's when you know Fernando de Moraes is in top form.
Hockless wanted Fleming on the inside. Fleming recoups possession back from Recchia. Vargas. And nothing presenting itself for Green Gully up front. Ollerton forced to play on the inside. Robinson. And that pressure once again from South Melbourne showing de Moraes. And Recchia through some traffic and making it look easy there. Fernando de Moraes. White to Nittis. And Medjedovic read it. Mrkela. Back to his centre half. Stefanou. Nearly intercepting Fleming. And Recchia, another build-up this will be. And the through ball. Wanting his target there, Joseph Youssef. The right intent there from Carl Recchia.
Absolutely, and a lovely ball, but for the body of Cameron Drake getting in the way. Trying to feed Joseph Youssef. He's got a beautiful touch and can play both defensive and attacking side of the midfield, Carl Recchia. Another excellent acquisition for the off-season for South Melbourne.
We talked about the signings South Melbourne's had in the off-season. You can go through them. Zois, Recchia, Gasparis, Stefanou, just to name a few. And so much so was the strength of South Melbourne starting 11, even their best and fairest, as you mentioned prior, David, starting on the bench from last season, Sebastian Petrovic.
Well, Seb Petrovic had a blinder season last year and he finds himself benched, such as the quality of the South midfield at the moment. It says something about the wealth of riches they have.
Steve Burton, another set piece in dangerous territory for South Melbourne. And another corner for the Cavaliers, cleared by Stefanou.
Couple of shirts off already over on Clarendon corner. And Andy Vargas getting his usual friendly welcome.
Well, we know global warming is having a presence, but I don't think it's that warm for your top off, David.
I think I might keep mine on for the moment, Simon.
Yes, Mr. Universe there, definitely having a chat with Andy Vargas. Andy Vargas taking a corner, slicing it across Medjedovic. Well, thought he was going to get there with the free header, didn't. Burton finds Fleming. And the transfer to no avail there from Fleming. And luckily for Green Gully, there's enough shirts to clear the danger. One of them, Ollerton, and he's dispossessed with ease, coughed it up quite easily, de Moraes. And this time, Vargas snatches possession back. It's a great through ball. Wales, 1-1. And you can thank Andy Vargas for that. He swooped on the possession, as the replay will show. Andy Vargas feeding it, and what a through ball too to Gary Wales, and Green Gully down for only 5 minutes, and it's all square here at Bob Jane Stadium.
Well, I was just about to say a moment ago, Simon, that when you're getting heckled that you must be a quality player, and Andy Vargas copping that heckling, but then just taking control in the midfield. Beautiful ball through, and Gary Wales with it on a plate in the end, and Peter Zois absolutely stranded there. Just a bit of a lapse in concentration there, and Green Gully capitalise.
It looked like for a moment that South Melbourne were on the attack after Peter Ollerton, in fact, rather his son, Ryan Ollerton, dispossessed that ball quite easily. Andy Vargas read the play, intercepted it, and quality, the cream of the crop, rose in the end. What a through ball there to find Gary Wales. And we're talking about the lack of strike force for Green Gully with the absence of Joel Nikolic this season, undertaking a full knee reconstruction. And Gary Wales and Robinson, they're looking like a threat for Green Gully early on. And Wales has scored straight through the defences of Peter Zois. Well, 13 minutes here at Bob Jane Stadium, Dave, and it's 1-1.
It is, and Peter Zois will be wondering how that managed to happen. He just been feeling comfortable. Looked like his set pieces were all well organised, and then a giant hole. And South Melbourne will be disappointed with that. They've got the go-ahead goal again, and just like last week, they've let it slip away pretty quickly.
And what an entertaining opening game of football it's been. 2 goals in the opening 15 minutes, end-to-end action.
Certainly, even if they haven't won too many yet, South Melbourne, they've definitely provided some entertaining games.
And Peter Zois, not the best of clearances for him there. He was looking for pit lane more than the pitch.
Might have had the Grand Prix on his mind, Simon.
Well, there'll be plenty of noise here next week, but there's certainly plenty of it at the moment, particularly coming from the Clarendon corner. Always a great crowd in attendance. South Melbourne, with plenty of pride and history on the line.
I like Vaughan Coveny's use of Gianni Nittis here. He really had been battling as a lone striker, Simon, and he's already looked more positive, and he's looked like he's been more comfortable on the ball. He's almost switched to the right-hand side, almost as if he and Gasparis are playing behind Joseph Yusuf as a lone striker. Or a staggered front three.
And Peter Ollerton opting for a 4-4-2 formation. And it's really a combination of Robinson or Hockless that's playing that forward role. Hockless up front with Wales at the moment. But Graham Hockless playing that floating attacking midfielder forward role. Gerohristodoulou. 15 minutes played at Bob Jane Stadium. It's 1-1. South Melbourne scoring first through the services of Fernando de Moraes. Penalty in the 7th minute. And it was cancelled out. Groenewald. Can the Cavaliers find the lead for the first time? They won't. Cleared by South Melbourne. And the Cavaliers scoring only moments ago through Gary Wales.
Interesting to see what kind of the rhythm the game settles into now. South Melbourne scored early last week against Northcote, then conceded only a few minutes later, not unlike what they've done here today, only to cop 2 goals in quick succession before half-time to be down 3-1. They'll want to guard against that. Hockless sends in. And a wayward shot in the end by Ryan Ollerton, covering himself in glory a bit there, but in the end only ballooning it.
Certainly sliced that one off the outside of his boot. Did Ryan Ollerton. Going to be Peter Zois. Former Magic man himself. Spent some time in Europe, in German division, 2nd division, if my memory serves me correct. And he's back in Australia after 10 years in Europe.
And of course, little known that he was in fact a South junior some 12 or 13 years ago. And
it's amazing the amount of players that have come back to their original home. Stefanou, Zois, Recchia, just to name a few. Steven O'Dor, back in his NSL days, just to name a few.
Even Sebastian Petrovic was very briefly back in 2002 on the South Melbourne list as a young gun.
Medjedovic was going to play it through the centre of midfield, was forced wide. Hockless being closely marked there by Danny Vasilevski. It was Graham Hockless. Was Vargas infringed? Referee didn't think so. Drake couldn't find his way through traffic, and it's a great through ball too. South Melbourne on the attack. And not clearing the danger, Kyriakos Gerohristodoulou. And that nearly floated in for a second.
Well, it was Manny Gasparis who got it from Fernando de Moraes and flicking a dangerous ball in there. And Joseph Yusuf just couldn't quite get the killer touch on it, Simon. It might have been 2-1 South Melbourne right there.
And Gerohristodoulou caught out in similar circumstances last week when Michael Kasija scored. Misunderstanding between he and his 2 centre-halves to gift Oakley the lead last week. And he nearly found himself in a spot of bother again.
Joey Yusuf looks like he's picked up a bit of a knock, but perhaps just a stinger. I think he's okay to continue. Rama firmly heads back upfield. Fleming, bit of aerial ping pong and a lot of space for Vargas on the right-hand side. Can Rama close him down? Manages to force him a bit wider. But space, and in the end, O'Dor took it away from the feet of Robinson, who was in a dangerous position there. And Green Gully.
And it was a great build-up too. It was Gary Wales with the vision. As the replay shows, it was cleared for a corner. However, Gary Wales with vision, spotting Vargas unmarked on the right-hand side. And that's where the build-up started.
Well, the goal came in a sort of similar circumstances.
Vargas again, the corner, flicked across goal by Tavsancioglu. Burton will opt for the throw.
Yes, of course, South Melbourne was a defensive lapse and a bit of a hole left at the top of the box that copped them the first goal, and space opening up there on the right-hand side. They'll want to be careful.
As you mentioned, the sense of deja vu, David. Similar circumstances to how Green Gully scored their first. Hockles wins the return ball, and so too the free kick. A reckless challenge by Nittis. Luckily for he, as we'll see, it was just outside his own box. Nittis coming in and collecting Hockles in the process.
Yes, looks like you just got a little bit of a clip on him there, Nittis, and with a raised foot, he'd want to be careful. A couple of inches either way, and you could be seeing red.
And Andy Vargas has scored from here. Potent with set pieces as Andy Vargas. Really aim for the back of the net. He does so, and the wall doing its job. One of them, Vasilevski.
Body on the line by Vasilevski there. It's one sure way to prevent it from going in, and that's getting in the way of it.
And he might need a bit of Denko rub on that one, David. There'll definitely be a pentagon on his back after that.
He'll be feeling it tomorrow, I can tell you that, Simon.
Hockles, another corner for the Cavaliers. And after starting on the back foot, Green Gully conceding that early goal, they've had the run of play in the last couple of minutes after nearly conceding a goal themselves. That collision between Gerohristodoulou and Yusuf prior. Fleming. Here's Fernando. And surely fouled, spotted by the assistant.
Yes, quick flag up there as Fernando looked to step around, but got it body checked by his marker, and Stiven Mrkela goes for a long, ambitious ball. Going aerially to the shortest man on the pitch, Marino Gasparis. Not quite reaching him on that occasion.
Andy Vargas. Back with Cameron Drake. Opts to go along. Groenewald has Burton to assist. Burton once again, he wanted the run of Andy Vargas. It's a great ball too. And O'Dor, a vital touch there, David. And the vision once again from Steve Burton. That fell perfectly into the lap of Andy Vargas. And Stephen O'Dor doing what a sweeper does, clearing the danger there at the vital moment.
Could not have asked for a more inch-perfect pass. And as we talk about that, it looks like Yusuf perhaps more troubled by that injury a moment ago than we thought. It looked innocuous when he collided with Kenny Gerohristodoulou, but he's in fact coming towards the bench here, and it looks like his almost namesake Yusuf is coming on.
It certainly is, and in the process too, more controversy, David. James Stefanou in the referee's book. Yellow carded, not sure what the incident was for.
Well, it's a coin of phrase, it's all happening here.
It certainly is, quoting Mr. Laurie. And it's a trade-off of the surnames. Yusuf coming off, replaced by Yusuf, or Yusuf squared, as he's known here at Bob Jane Stadium.
Well, it's the Yusuf show at the moment. One Yusuf for another. Let's hope that Yusuf's injury is just a bump. Just finding his way into the starting lineup and won that penalty. Looked good in the new position, and 20 minutes into the game, that's desperate.
Well, if there's one thing for certain, Steve Burton will certainly be troubled by the run of Yusuf. In fact, Yusuf rather now, the new substitute on the right-hand side.
Well, it looks like Gianni Nittis has switched back to that central position, and Yusuf come out here on the right. So a reshuffle, the hand of Vaughan Coveny forced there, disappointing. But with every change comes opportunity and perhaps a chance for Yusuf. As Vasilevski can't get a hold of that one, and Gully on the counter, and that's a poor ball in the end there. And at the wrong end of the pitch, Steve O'Dor, turning himself into a running midfielder, wins the foul.
It all come undone there for Green Gully. Wales wanted the run of Vargas on the outside, not to be. And South Melbourne looked as though they were going to be on the defence. And now they can forge an attack.
A couple of years ago, Simon, it was Fernando's free kick wherever it was on the ground. Now with Daniel Vass sending a good deep ball in. Bobbles, and now Fernando looks up on the right-hand side, shoots low and just across the left. Found himself with a little bit of space. As we see on the replay, looked like Recchia contested, couldn't get a hold of it. Fernando stepping around and not so far away from Gerohristodoulou there.
Not too far off the mark either. And I think he did the right thing having a crack to Moraes, because had he fed it off to Nittis inside the box, he could have been caught offside.
It's the right idea taking the shot. If anyone can score from outside the box, Fernando de Moraes is as good as any.
25 minutes played here at Bob Jane Stadium. We trust you're enjoying the live broadcast of this live match between South Melbourne and Green Gully. Round 4 Victorian Premier League action. Smartly cut off by Stefanou. Here's Danny Vass. Smart play this too. What a build-up it is. The Moraes, and we talked about Yusuf coming on and the danger he posed. Luckily for Green Gully, the tackle was perfect. Burton. Burton again. Wanted Hockless. Here's Wales. Burton will have 2 to beat. Recchia not taking any chances. And you think Hockless will take this throw again, and that's what's going to be the case.
Crucial interception a moment ago by the Gully defender. I didn't quite catch who it was in the rush, but Yusuf with space in front of him got the ball to his feet, and a perfect sliding challenge from behind. Anything stray or wide of the mark might have seen a card and a free kick in a dangerous position.
And it potentially could have been a red one too, because it was the last defender making that tackle. Hockless has Vargas, one of his options, opts for Drake. Had to be careful there with the elbow. Hodor. Ollerton sending it back in. Some tall timber there. Cameron Drake couldn't find the target. Lunging challenge. Stefanou. And it's surely another foul.
Yes.
Danny Vasilevski brought down by, here's to you, Nicholas Robinson.
Yes, Nick Robinson knew what he was doing there. Acknowledged it straight away. No malice in that challenge, Simon. Zodor stands and waits at the back and ends up opting for Peter Zois, who looks up, and there's actually 4 standing across the front half at the moment. Gully players bunching up in the middle a bit here. Zois goes on the right-hand side towards Yusuf. The flick on, might reach to Nittis. Good pressure, but couldn't quite get there in the end.
Yusuf certainly knew where the run of Nittis was coming from. Flicked it on into space for him. Burton. Robinson presents. May have been pushed by Recchia. Moraes looking to play the dummy in the through ball, and in South the through Gasparis to make it 2. A lunging challenge coming from Ollerton and Medjedovic. And once again,
well, Gasparis was only inches away there, Simon. A bit of fortune, but managed to get the run of the ball, and blocked there by Gerohristodoulou as Vasilevski climbing all over the back of Hockless there.
And the magic of Fernando de Moraes making something out of nothing, finding some space. And Marino's Gasparis is through, but couldn't get through the final defences of Ollerton and Medjedovic.
Well, just enough pressure to force him wide and block the shot, but very nearly a goal from nothing for South Melbourne. And winning the free kick again, it's that man Gasparis. Small, but fast and effective with the ball.
This could be another yellow card, and it's a silly one too. It's Andy Vargas. Finds himself into the book.
That's just not necessary, Simon. You gain nothing from it. It's not a dangerous position.
Absolutely. And it was silly play from Green Gully all round for me. There's no need for Graham Hockless to be holding there. His opponent really had no one to find wide.
We haven't reached the half-hour mark yet, and people are already giving away silly yellow cards. It's just not smart football.
It's un-Australian.
It is indeed. Now, what can Recchia find? He goes hard and low, and a bit tough for Nittis, that one. But Stiven Mrkela might have something to work with now.
Good to see Mrkela back on the pitch, injury-free. An experienced defender.
Mrkela now. Bit of a wobbly ball with Stefanou. The right-hand side, Nittis and Yusuf lurking, but unable to get any purchase. Bobbles in midfield a bit. Gully might look to charge here. It's Drake. On the far side, it's Ollerton. And he may have run out there, I think. No, in fact, he's gained the free kick.
Just some holding on between Ollerton and Gasparis.
Just getting friendly, Simon. Well, Ollerton sends one in low. Can't beat Rama. And Gasparis now, Fernando. A bit of space here. He's got Nittis in the middle and Yusuf running on the right-hand side if he can use him. Uses Yusuf eventually. He's got men in front of him, but if he's got the pace on the right-hand side, heads toward the corner. And a flag in the end. It looked like a bit of interference. Not much in it, but the linesman deciding that Yusuf didn't need to have his hand on the shirt there.
And Yusuf had no other option but to get around Burton. Very few options for him inside.
Yes, as we can see there, just a slight touch. Enough for the linesman to deem it inappropriate.
Another un-Australian action, as
Absolutely. We don't use that word enough.
Here's Fleming. And easily coughed up by the Cavaliers. Vasilevski wanted to run it to Nittis. Drake. Well, an unorthodox clearance. Still found a teammate in Burton. Did he keep it alive, the assistant? Doesn't think so.
Well, Burton left under a bit of pressure there because there was a miscommunication between, I believe it was Mrkela and Gerohristodoulou there. Gerohristodoulou started to come, but opted out, and in the end, the clearance wasn't well taken at all. It'll be perhaps Stiven Mrkela time for a long throw. Take a leaf out of Graham Hocklis's book. He looks up. Still waiting and goes for Gasparis. Probably not the best option in the end. And now with a chance, Wales on the counter. Got Vargas on the right, and they're going to flick back over, but Stefanou body in the way and might force Mrkela out. What Mrkela does beautifully. Beats Groenewald to the ball and gets it clear. Fleming and Burton combine in the middle. And nobody at home for Gully. Vargas. Now Ollerton. Going in circles here, Gully. Good ball by Vargas, and Fleming was making movements. But in the end, Steve O'Dore. And it's like a pinball machine out there at the moment, Simon.
Green Gully just looking for that right opportunity to send it in. Groenewald clipping Zois.
Oh, now this is a silly yellow card. Why would you touch a keeper?
Another unnecessary card. Groenewald joins Vargas in the books for the Cavaliers.
That's not smart, Simon. A keeper is untouchable. We know that. We know that sometimes those rules can be a little bit soft, but you have no reason to touch him. He's not going to drop the ball. You've got no chance of taking it off him. Just leave him alone.
And it could come back, these cards to haunt the Cavaliers. Plenty of football left in this match. Just under 15 minutes remaining in this first half.
My rule of thumb, unless your name's George Best, never try to take it out of a keeper's hands.
And you learn from the best. And it's 1-1 here at Bob Jane Stadium. Glorious Sunday afternoon in Melbourne. It's Green Gully up against the host South Melbourne in this round 4 Victorian Premier League clash. A throw for O'Dore. In fact, he won't take it.
Well, Rama, of course, plays mostly as a right back, is diverse and versatile, but I still think they probably love having Roddy Payne out there and being able to have Rama on the right-hand side, a bit more luxury. Not quite as settled as Groenewald. Tries to break through and wins the free kick. Don't think Vasilevski's too thrilled about that, but certainly was a bit of a It's just a little bit of harassment in the end and unable to get the ball there, Daniel Vass.
Well, Groenewald milked it for all it was worth. There was certainly some holding on there from Danny Vasilevski. And another silly free kick to concede in dangerous territory. This is either Graham Hockles or Andy Vargas. They can really have a crack on goal from here.
When you got Vargas and Hockles standing over the ball, you do have to worry.
And it looks as though it's going to be the latter. Andy Vargas, David, to take it. Vargas, can he beat the wall? And Zois can't do so. Hockles
tried to do it all.
Held, but nevertheless wasn't spotted. And Yusuf can hit on the counter.
Yusuf. Oh, he stumbles on the ball, and in the end, he'll be disappointed with that. Nittis was waiting to break for him, and Yusuf, he just got a bit too excited. He was trying a bit too hard. Oh, and he just stumbled at the key moment.
And the break was on too, because Cameron Drake was watching Yusuf and could have marked Nittis at the same time. Vargas. And this match evenly poised at the 35th minute mark.
Absolutely. End-to-end football. It's exciting. Perhaps not as skillful as it might be as Odor. Now what can they do? He's got Youssef and Fernando in the middle. Odor goes galloping this time. He looks a bit out of place, but he's going well here, Steven Odor. Can he whip a good cross in? In the end, he leaves an acre of space for Vasilevski in the middle. Vasa shoots from range, and a disappointing end to a good build-up. And Steve Odor, well, maybe he was a running midfielder in his time.
It was a great run from Odor. Definitely found himself in uncharted territory when we saw that shot from Danny Vasilevski. A player like him definitely has the ability to finish from there, but he did have options wide. One of them was Yusuf, waiting there on the left side.
Well, read into this whatever you like, Simon, but Marinos Gasparis has just run to the bench quickly to change his boots. Perhaps the surface is not quite as stable as we might have thought, or maybe he's just got a problem.
Well, it certainly looks better than Etihad Stadium. I'll give you the tip. Bob Jane Stadium looking an absolute treat. It certainly won't be much wrong from the pitch, in my opinion, David. It surely must be the boots on offer and the studs that Marinos Gasparis has got on.
I'd suggest this is one of the best surfaces in Melbourne at the moment, Simon. Etihad Stadium, well, Jackson Pollock liked it, but...
And so too did AC/DC from what I hear. And living dangerously there, Cameron Drake. Kyriakos Gerohristodoulou did the job nevertheless. Yusuf combining the 1-2 and couldn't find his target in Nittis.
He's having no luck here, Yusuf. He's come on and he just seems a bit out of place as the offside flag is up against Groenewald.
He certainly is. Yusuf covering plenty of territory on the pitch. Just
Certainly
his touch is letting him
effort.
down.
And as we see here, quick free kick. Vasilevski flicks over for Nittis. Nittis, oh, he cut. Oh, I tell you what, Gerohristodoulou, quick off his line. Almost looked like he might have handled outside the box. No appeals. Well, almost a perfect ball. Nittis couldn't quite get the good touch. And in fact, it spilled out of his hands, I should say, and he managed to regather.
And Gerohristodoulou did that well.
What a ball by Daniel Vasilevski. And if it's just for a slightly better touch by Nittis, we've been able to bring it down. But now Fernando on the left, and chances coming thick and fast now for South Melbourne.
The two centre-halves caught napping there for Green Gully. Gerohristodoulou did that well without conceding the penalty. Whipped in, flicked on by Gasparis. Yusuf pulls the trigger. Cleared there by Drake. Robinson. Well, don't know if that was intentional or not, but he found Vargas, and the break is on. And Wales, I think he had a case there too for being held, and he had to be lucky there, Odor.
Well, Steven Odor was definitely caught behind now. I think it was the linesman, and he's got the yellow card here, Gary Wales, for protesting and abuse. He's not happy with his treatment. Feels that it was... I feel that looking at it, it may have been a 50-50. They each had a bit of each other.
But giving credit to the referee, they've been there all afternoon, and the referee has been consistent, and the whistle put in his pocket unless it's an absolute obvious piece of holding and shirt pulling.
And frustration is fine, but there's no place for abuse in this game, and Gary Wales should know better than to open his mouth.
Is that un-Australian too, David?
I think it's all un-Australian, Simon. Well, Nittis looking to receive that ball there from Odor. Now Fernando. Jostles for position, but nothing doing yet. So when all else fails, give it to Peter Zois.
And that's where the restart occurs for South Melbourne. Definite foul there.
Yes, no, a bit silly there by Nicholas Robinson. Quick free kick. Now Vasilevski finds a little bit of space. And a ball here for Yusuf. Yusuf, what can he do? He comes back to Mrkela. And now there's numbers in front of him here, Mrkela. He's got Fernando if he can get it to him. Back to Stefanou, and well, going backwards here a bit, and that's not a good ball there by Odor. Flicks it up for Rama. Fortunately, some space in front of him. And goes for a bit of a gallop, and was that a body check? Yes, it was. And but I think a bit of self-preservation there. Might be Andy Vargas on the far side. Yes, I think he just got into the back of him there. Yes, got a bit of body and not a lot of ball. Don't think it was a particularly vicious tackle.
It certainly wasn't reckless, but once again, Andy Vargas needs to be careful. He's already received an official caution.
Now, it looks like Fernando is resuming for this free kick. So Daniel Vass lurking at the edge of the area and whipped in nice and high. Gerohristodoulou the punch. Hasn't cleared yet. Groenewald. And oh, wow, Gaspar. He might have to look for a few teeth after that one. There's Mrkela on the right-hand side. Vasilevski shows a bit of class. And Rama, that's the way you get it clear. Groenewald uses Wales. And a bit of miscommunication there, not quite getting the timing on that one between Wales and Groenewald. Yes, Marinos Gasparis rubbing his face a bit there and trying to spit a bit of, might be a bit of blood coming out of his mouth. Got the ball in the face from close range, and that's never comfortable.
Well, he's got his feet right with new shoes, studs, and hopefully his face is the same too. Marinos Gasparis just clearing a bit of claret off his face.
Looks like it's just a stinger, which is fortunate for him, but never pleasant.
No contact is definitely pleasant. Here's Ollerton. Vargas. There's Hockless on the inside. Uses Robinson instead. Robinson towards the run of Wales. And defended well, Stefanou. Just approaching half-time, David, with just under 5 minutes remaining.
Well, South Melbourne probably in the last little while had the better of the chances and the greater opportunities. But 1-1, probably a reasonable reflection all up of the scoreline. If someone can break it before half-time. Bobbles in the box, and now Burton lurking on the edge of the area. Goes back to Robinson. Couldn't quite be as quick as they might have liked their Green Gully.
Burton looking to lay it on a plate there for Robertson to finish on the outside of the box, but to no avail. It's the Moraes. And he's got runners either side, Nittis or Youssef. Nittis, no one there on the inside.
Well, that was a silly step over. He was trying too hard. He should have gone the simple option. Youssef running on the left.
Quoting Roy Orbison, it was communication breakdown.
Well said there, Simon. Now fortunate ball. Steven Mrkela falls for him. Recchia looks at what is available. Vasilevski. Fernando. Vasilevski again. Now with a bit of a run on. Flicks it out for Yusuf. Yusuf got to get a dangerous ball in. Could only hit Cameron Drake that time.
Fleming. Wide to Wales. Rarely been spotted on this side of the ground. Gary Wales playing more in the middle and up front. Burton. He wanted Robinson wide. Green Gully will still hold it. Robertson failed to control. Hockless. Here's Ollerton. And Hockless is through. Odor, well, it was unorthodox, but it did the job.
Whatever gets it away, I don't care how you do it. If you get it out of there, it's a good move. And now perhaps Gianni Nittis combining with Recchia. Oh, a crunch in the middle.
And we heard that from up here too. It was a solid collision there with Recchia.
Looked like Recchia and Medjedovic. An accidental collision. Referee not interested in any disciplinary action. I think fair enough too. Well, the skills have just gone out of the game a little bit in the last few minutes here, Simon. No composure, with some notable exceptions. Daniel Vasilevski is skillful with whatever he does.
Which is unusual because it's a great chance for either of these teams to clinch an advantage before half-time. Probably only 2 or 3 minutes remaining. Flicked in. Appeared to be Ollerton.
See from the replay there. Nice deep ball, bit of penetration, but nothing doing. And Peter Zois, what can he do from the back half? Gasparis, who switched out on the right-hand side in the last few minutes. Well, that one bobbles about. Robinson with Vargas, and referee calls the advantage on Yusuf's challenge. Ollerton with a deep cross, looking for Wales, but Peter Zois not bothered. And he's got a short run here, Gasparis, who's got pace. He's also got Vasilevski. Uses Recchia, and a good ball there. And jostling for it. I think Gianni Nittis might have put him off there for just a moment.
The pressure there from Fleming and Petrovic. The two veterans coming to the rescue for the Cavaliers. Fleming looking for Groenewald there. A touch too deep. Burton again. Pressure from Nittis, and fouled off the ball was Steve Burton. And Peter Ollerton sending instructions just off his bench to Steve Burton. I'm sure in that English accent, pump it long, and that's exactly what he does. Groenewald, lovely touch. However, the touch into the box, not finding a teammate, but it will find a corner for the Cavaliers.
Couldn't reach Gary Wales, could only find a door. Gary Wales, a dangerous target. Probably more so to feet, as we saw with that first goal, and showed beautiful composure to net the equaliser.
Vargas, another dangerous corner to deal. O'Dor. Burton on the volley and the woodwork, saving Peter Zois. Wow, Steve Burton nearly giving the advantage to the Cavaliers just before the halftime break.
And I tell you what, Simon, that came from nothing. Burton just lurking at the edge of the area. I was waiting for a pass or a low cross coming in, and he went for it. And it dipped late, and Peter Zois, well, he might have had it covered, but not by much.
He scored in similar circumstances against Richmond a fortnight ago. Nearly pulled off the same feet here at Bob Jones Stadium. Green Gully looking to make it 2. Wales not connecting. And the referee deeming Zois didn't keep that ball in.
Well, they don't look happy there, the South defenders, nor do the fans in the stands.
And the crowd are certainly letting the referee know what they feel about that.
The referee, in fairness to the referee, he was immediate with his call, no hesitations.
This surely will be the last piece of play for the half.
We are in stoppage time here. What can a Graham Hockless corner bring?
Hockless short. Burton, that deadly left boot of his. Unable to connect and flicking it back in. Ollerton. It was Hockless' first time. It just couldn't connect. And luckily for South Melbourne, David, as we'll see, Hockless unable to connect, and the chip there from Ollerton.
Promising build-up, but in the end, a bit of an impotent finish.
Could have easily been a goal in a few passages of play there for the Cavaliers.
Youssef for Nittis. Oh, it almost sat for him too. But the referee has decided he's seen enough.
And enough it is here at half-time at Bob Jones Stadium, and scores are locked. 1-1 in this round 4 clash between South Melbourne and Green Gully. A goal early in the piece. It was a penalty converted by Fernando de Moraes in the 7th minute, and it was quickly cancelled out by Gary Wales. And David, it's 1-1 at the moment, a fair result at this stage at half-time.
I think so. I think we've seen a bit of positivity from both sides, a couple of chances wasted by both sides. I think they've been about even in this half. Well,
Gerohristodoulou certainly tested in the latter stages of the first half, and then it was Peter Zois doing his job, and luckily the woodwork for him, saving him on in the piece.
Hopefully for South Melbourne, the loss of Joseph Yusuf isn't anything too serious, because he was starting to look good there and did win the penalty.
Well, there it is at half-time. It's South Melbourne 1, Green Gully 1. We'll be back after a short break with all the action from the second half.
Well, all is in readiness for the second half. The players back out on the pitch, Simon, and deadlocked at the break, but both sides with a chance to break it open.
They certainly do, and periods of that first half were quite sloppy for both teams, both South Melbourne and Green Gully. South Melbourne coughing the ball up with a bit of ease in midfield, and Green Gully just lacking that bit of class and touch into the final third, and had a few crosses into the box with not finding targets. So both teams will be looking to lift their performance and get maximum points. As we mentioned early on, it's a 6-pointer.
And certainly not knocking the entertainment value. It's been competitive. There's been plenty of effort on both sides, but the skill factor hasn't quite matched. And whichever side settles better and shows more composure will be the side to break this open.
And not only break this game open on the pitch, but also from a ladder perspective too. Both teams mid-table with 3 and 4 points respectively, and an opportunity. It's early days yet, but consolidate a spot in the 5. Hockless. Back to Medjedovic. Groenewald with the turn and the touch letting him down.
Well, the table's an interesting one, Simon. Both these clubs sitting somewhere in the middle at the moment, but as we see, Groenewald trying to chase that one down. Not any real divide yet, and keeping in mind that clubs like Heidelberg and the Knights still in negative points, and with, of course, those points being deducted, will struggle to kick-start, but have quality enough to knock other teams off. So the table won't probably quite be a reflection of the quality of each team towards the end of the year. So anytime you can take a win, you'll get one.
Absolutely, and who would have thought this afternoon? Northcote knocking off the Altona Magic.
Well, we saw a bit of flair from Northcote last week in the 3-all in the big match against South, and there you go, knocking off the reigning champions.
And such is the evenness of the table. Northcote in the pool with South and Gully on the table. Those 3 points have accelerated them up quite quickly. And South and Green Gully will be looking to do the same. Moraes, what about the touch and the flick? Recchia. Deflection there from Medjedovic. Laid back, Recchia can finish. It bent back, but not enough.
Well, Gasparis teed up Recchia, and he just couldn't quite get comfortable on it. In the end, leaning across just a little too far and couldn't bring that one back on target.
Positive start for South Melbourne.
Well, that might have been a huge chance right there. They started strong after the break last week and, of course, got the run on and erased that 2-goal deficit. Do they have a Daniel Vasilevski in their side today? Well, of course they do. But can he repeat his heroics?
Well, he's certainly a class act, Danny Vasilevski. From the victory back in the VPL, this time with South Melbourne. Hockless, the 1-2, has a runner wide in Andy Vargas. Just lacked a bit of punch, that pass there from Graham Hockless, and a handball spotted.
Oh.
And it's finally noticed there by Ryan Ollerton.
He's got to be careful there, Ryan Ollerton. The flag was up and the whistle had gone, and could have been accused there for a moment of a bit of dissent, deciding to keep playing.
He was certainly running on Adelaide time there, half an hour behind the rest of the pack. Finally realised the flag was up for the handball.
Zois opts for the long restart. Bobbling in the air again. Fernando gets it from Recchia. And right idea with the back heel, but tried to be a little too cute and couldn't get the quality of the touch.
And the Brazilian was looking to play sexy football. Here he is again. Recchia.
Well,
Drake could have infringed his opponent there, Nittis. Nevertheless, advantage given. Vasilevski charged down. What about that from Danny Vasilevski, weaving his way through traffic. Both Groenewald and Hockless.
He's got a beautiful touch, Vasilevski. Now Recchia. He tries to find Fernando. Goes a little flick over the top. Couldn't quite reach Yusuf. Again, the ball in contest. Recchia. Now Yusuf. Got to whip one in from the right-hand side. He's got men in the middle. The cross is up. And unfortunately, just crossed the touchline there. And Yusuf's poor luck continues. Right idea, and just couldn't quite cook the cross well.
And it was a letdown too. It was great play between Recchia and Vasilevski. to build up that attack.
He's having a day to forget here, Yusuf, since coming on. He's just got to forget about all that, put it all out of his mind, take each touch as his first.
But nevertheless, don't be surprised. Yusuf is an impact player, and all he needs is one touch to be a difference in this game.
Well, he has a great aerobic capacity, and as the game goes on and the defenders get tired, I wouldn't want to be chasing him up the right-hand side. Throw on the right-hand side. South looking for options. Trying to find the way through. Mrkela wins the corner now. And what can Gerohristodoulou do to get this defensive line organised? A lot of bodies in the box. And it looks like Fernando to whip it in. Or bobble. Stefanou was lurking with intent, but without the final touch. It must have come off a Gully body.
Certainly did. Steve Burton.
Fernando, take two. Couple of tall timbers in there. Could be dangerous.
Correct decision from the referee. Looked as though it was Stefanou, but it's another corner taken. Vasilevski. Medjedovic might have a headache after that.
Oh,
and
no. I think that's a little bit soft, that one, Simon.
It was a 50-50, no doubt about that. It could be another yellow card for dissent. We'll find out shortly. As the replay indicated, not much in that contact there between Vasilevski.
And the South Melbourne fans just kindly reminding him that might have been a little bit soft on the way down. Nonetheless, the referee called it early and there was contact, and Recchia got to be careful not to get that yellow card.
And Nicholas Robertson back up in one piece. O'Dor spills to Groenewald. It's a smart transfer too. Vargas looking for space on the inside. Lays it off. Hockless across the face of goal. Was there an opportunity for Andy Vargas to finish here?
It's a corner, in fact, Simon.
Laid it off. And Hockless.
Corner awarded. Not sure who got the final touch.
Well,
no complaints, though.
There was a touch. And Andy Vargas laid it off there for Hockless to finish. The angle was narrow, but Vargas did think about it. Vargas with another corner, playing it short. Sends it in. Screaming handball. Not to be. Vargas sends it in again. And it's still not cleared yet by South Melbourne. Eventually it will happen. Mrkela. Pressure from Groenewald. Intercepted here. Burton. Whips it in. Cleared by Tavsancioglu. And South Melbourne living dangerously temporarily.
And now Yusuf skips past beautifully. Looks up and towards the box. What can he do? Skips around on the right foot. The shot blocked down. Good run by Yusuf. Maybe getting a little bit of that confidence back with a nice touch to go around Ryan Ollerton. And that was a nice end-to-end move there. Couldn't quite complete it. Well, sometimes a little touch like that can give you some confidence. So maybe Yusuf trying to get himself into this game.
Vargas keeping it alive. Groenewald. Tavsancioglu again, combining with Stefanou.
Well, they looked cool, but I'm not sure that Teddy realised how close his opponent was. Rama would have been so
It was perfectly weighted, that pass from Andy Vargas. Thought it was a touch too long for Groenewald to keep alive. Did so.
Therein is the quality of Andy Vargas. He can catch you off guard, and his passes, they seem so innocuous.
Burton. Groenewald finds himself deep, but he's required there. Vasilevski waltzing through midfield and nearly through Medjedovic. Fleming. And Gasparis won't trouble Gerohristodoulou.
Well, Marinos Gasparis knew what he wanted to do, but couldn't get brain to foot. Gerohristodoulou relieved there after the ball bobbled around a bit. And the South fans just making sure he remembers where he is and who he's up against. It's Mrkela, who's been very good on that right-hand side today.
One of South's best for me in defence, and so too Danny Vasilevski in midfield.
I think certainly those two have been class above today.
Groenewald wanted the transfer, saw Vargas free on the right side. It's intercepted by this man here, Rama Tavsancioglu. Went for a run and draws the throw. Taken quickly. And Nittis and Tavsancioglu couldn't combine.
Oh, that aerial
taken
power
too hastily
door
there when there was time for South Melbourne. Recchia. Well, a tale of turnovers at the moment. Wales through midfield. Groenewald. And a raffle between O'Dor and Zois to clear.
Played 10 minutes now in this second half, still locked at 1-1. South Melbourne probably with the better of the chances, but Green Gully looking just as menacing.
And that open play continues. It's been the theme from the first half, but still mistake-ridden, but it's been an entertaining game nevertheless.
That's what the fans come to see. And Zois plays around with Stefanou. He's got anything he likes, and unfortunately can only find Fleming. Uses Groenewald. Now a chance for Gully, but that man again, Vasilevski, who's all over it in midfield. Uses Yusuf. Yusuf back for Rama. And Ramazan goes long, and can he pick the run of Fernando? What a ball! Fernando de Moraes! Oh, that's a belter! What an amazing goal! A perfect ball, a perfect finish. Rama Tavsancioglu through for Fernando de Moraes. That's one of the goals of the season, Simon.
It is, and that has brought Bob Jane Stadium alive. What about the ball presented on a plate there from Rama Tavsancioglu, and Fernando de Moraes on the half volley went bang, bang, bang. It's finished to a warm applause here from the spectators here at Bob Jane Stadium. You will not see a better pass or a better finish than that. And what a way for South Melbourne to clinch the lead again. After 55 minutes, it's South Melbourne 2, Green Gully 1.
What a pair of fools we are. We said the skill level was low in this game, Simon. We have just been told where to go by Rama and Fernando. What an amazing contribution that is. I reckon that's got to be one of the early calls for goal of the year. I'm throwing that out there.
He threaded that through a needle, Rama Tavsancioglu. Absolute quality, that assist. That ball hit the target. You cannot find a target better than that. And the finish from Fernando de Moraes. Green Gully looked to equalise, but Groenewald is offside. Nevertheless, Zois had it covered. And Groenewald, he's covered plenty of territory on the pitch, as we'll see. Hockless finding Groenewald a touch too early on his run.
Well, I think not since Trimboli threaded Palacides of the South fans seen something that exquisite. A divine ball.
That was more exciting than Mark Webber down pit straight next week. That was the quality of the finish here that you'd see at Albert Park.
Probably made as much noise as Mark Webber did coming down pit straight.
He certainly exploded the roof off here at Bob Jane Stadium. This crowd of just over 1,000 have witnessed definitely a contender for goal of the year.
Well, the noise went up. I thought for a moment Schumacher was revving his engine.
And the only person revving his engine, Fernando de Moraes. Welcome back to Bob Jane Stadium with an absolute bang.
5 goals in a season is a milestone at any point. It's just not usually you do it in round 4.
He's certainly on fire early on in the Victorian Premier League. 60 minutes played. And it's a double to Fernando de Moraes. 1 from the spot and 1 in sensational fashion. A half volley, you will not see better finishes than that. They've currently got the advantage over Green Gully, leading 2-1. And for those of you just tapping into our broadcast now, it was Gary Wales, number 9 for Green Gully, that scored in the first half. Recchia with plenty of assistance. As O'Dor and South can ill afford to take their foot off the pedal. There's still half an hour of football remaining in this game.
Well, when the adrenaline gets up like that, and here we see again Gasparis just manning the edge of the box, goes the flick and couldn't quite get the touch there. A disappointing one that after what we saw from Fernando minutes ago, but as we see on the replay, nice build-up, positive move. Gasparis, you're trying to use the outside of the foot and out-fox Gerohristodoulou.
He tried to slice that. He tried to slice that, Marino Gasparis, but it's going to be a hard act to follow when you've just seen a finish of that quality from Fernando de Moraes. Cameron Drake clearing. And that goal has certainly upped the tempo in this clash, particularly for South Melbourne. They've certainly lifted a notch.
And in moments like this, Simon, you really need to double your efforts. You can't afford to go in the slightest bit. You cannot afford the slightest backward step when you're protecting a lead, and especially when it's such an adrenaline rush to have taken it. So they've just got to keep a few cool heads. Rama, of course, as a skipper, has to show some maturity. He's on the ball now. Gets a beautiful one from Fernando. The cross didn't quite get its way through, but Recchia uses Gasparis. It's those little legs pumping. And Vasilevski's as good a man to any. Only as far as Ollerton, and Vargas looks to get things going on the right-hand side for Gully. As Ollerton goes long, but into a sea of blue shirts, and Stefanou connecting with Vasilevski, who's been all over it in the midfield. Not quite his best touch, that one.
And it was a rare mistake from Danny Vasilevski this afternoon.
He is human after all.
And so too Fernando de Moraes. I know that finish, he made one or two mistakes himself in the first half. But boy, that was absolutely awesome, to say the least. That finish from Fernando de Moraes, that'll make a highlight reel and potentially Tommy Smith's goal of the week.
I'd like to think so.
De Moraes. Cut off by Robinson. Groenewald, this time he was onside, just couldn't hold it down. Cleared by Stefanou. South Melbourne not shy to go long, and why not when it was successful only moments ago with Tavsancioglu and de Moraes.
Well, Vasilevski gave a similar ball to Nittis in the first half, as we see Green Gully. Oh, and that's an unfortunate slip. But couldn't reach Nittis. In that case, just a fraction of an inch closer. And Fernando de Moraes, he loves those situations. And now Recchia, he's got Yusuf, who's got Fernando. He waits his time. The flick on, not bad, but not quite picking the run of Fernando on that occasion. Well, Fernando de Moraes might be chasing a hat-trick today.
And there's plenty of time to do so. Just under 25 minutes remaining in this contest. And South Melbourne leading Green Gully by 2-1. Vasilevski again. Groenewald got there. Lacked any assistance. Stefanou nearly threaded it through to the run of Youssef. Well, but it will be another corner for South Melbourne.
That's a lucky break there. The pressure just getting perhaps to Ryan Ollerton a bit, deciding to go the safety option and head it wide. Yusuf was lurking with intent on the left-hand side. And now Vasilevski going to resume his set-piece taking duties. He's got the big bodies of Nittis and Stefanou, Odor. And then, of course, you've got Fernando and Yusuf lurking on the edge of the area. Suddenly it becomes a bit of an unfortunate situation to be in for the Gully players, but what can Gerohristodoulou hold out? Vasilevski whips in, and it goes deep. Gerohristodoulou and the punch in the end. I might revert to calling him the affectionate name of Kenny G. When you're trying to get a lot of words out in a hurry, his name ain't the easiest.
Well, between Gerohristodoulou and Tavsancioglu, you can certainly buy a vowel. David, as play continues. Fleming. So the run of Groenewald again. He needs to get his assist pinpoint. Fleming flicked across.
Oh, well done, Mrkela.
Cleared by Mrkela. The experience showing again. Ollerton, Vargas, Green Gully. They've been on the back foot, particularly since that goal, and Fleming nearly connected there on the near post. It would have been a brilliant finish to do so. As you see Vargas's corner, cross rather, coming in, and Fleming, well, it was covered by two defenders nevertheless, but it still nearly presented an opportunity for a strike on goal.
Some players starting to put through their final warm-up paces on the touchline. I wonder if we'll see either the coach is going for a switch. Certainly, I think Coveny will probably be pretty happy with the lineup he's got, already having used one substitution. Young Sam Torrens back from his injury, and Eddie Setkin, who was rushed in to play a makeshift right back last week on the touchline. So Yusuf can't quite connect with that one. And Hockless uses Wales. He's been good today. Can he make of this on the left-hand side? Skips around and lays a beautiful ball here for Hockless. And Zois at the bottom. Groenewald on the rebound. The ball bobbing around. Well, Peter Zois got down well for that. And Groenewald can't control that. And that's a foul. And that's a silly foul by Josh Groenewald. He lost the ball. And he's already had a... Well, perhaps he hasn't had a yellow. But he's certainly risking one with that.
He certainly is. We can't deny the magic from Graham Hockless there. Nearly found the equaliser for Green Gully with 2 great pieces of play. And in the meantime, receiving some medical attention is Recchia. And he's in a spot of bother.
Well, he was in that challenge from Groenewald. Looked fairly innocuous at first, but as we well know, the slightest touch can cause an injury, as we saw with Archie Thompson last night. And of course,
turning our attention from the local game to the A-League, and what a difference 3 years makes. Archie Thompson, unfortunately, out with a knee reconstruction, and yet 3 years ago saw himself scoring 5 goals in the grand final. What a difference 3 years makes when he could be out of the game for potentially up to a year. We wish him all the best.
Certainly never like to see a player injured in any circumstances, and although I'm sure the Sydney FC players were glad they didn't have to contest with him, you never wish that on anyone.
It was certainly a huge sigh of relief for Sydney FC, nevertheless. And turning our attention back to Bob Jane Stadium.
Oh, Recchia looks like he's going to take a bit of treatment for the physio. Hopefully it's just a bump, because he has been coming off a calf strain. We'd hate to see him have to go back into soft tissue injury rehab, because he's been so good since coming back into the starting lineup. And Zois.
And a trouble near at the Altona Magic too. Recchia.
Exceptionally talented player.
Gerohristodoulou will restart the attack. Sorry, turn it down. Gerohristodoulou will restart the attack. Yusuf. Now he found Vasilevski. And Recchia still a bit ginger. Could have received that throw. Recchia didn't want it.
He's a tough customer, Recchia. Straight back into the physical contest. I suspect he may have just copped a bump. But now Gully. Vargas on the break. Looks for Groenewald. Not quite that magical touch he can sometimes have. And there's some movement here on the Gully bench, Simon.
Oh, Jonathan Munoz coming on. Unsure why he didn't start. He's been very influential along the left flank. And Peter Ollerton. Is he looking at Jeffrey Fleming? No, he's not. To come off, Jonathan Munoz will be coming on. It looks as though it's Gary Wales, and it is coming off. So Peter Ollerton making a tactical switch, bringing on a left-sided midfielder in Jonathan Munoz for a striker in Gary Wales.
Well, perhaps a predetermined move, but certainly wouldn't want to be taking Wales out of your strike force.
And it looks as though Robinson has made that move up front with Groenewald. Burton will send it back. Hockless. Whipped in by Burton. Zois has the time and the space. Easy pickings for Peter Zois.
Not getting caught out under that high ball there. There's always a bit of afternoon sun here at Bob Jane Stadium that can get in your eyes.
It's pretty much the only danger that cross presented was the sun. Medjedovic. And speaking of the sun, that's exactly what Graham Hockless just did. Here comes the sun, and he misread that. Fernando finding a way through, but not to Yusuf.
Well, South Melbourne. Will Vaughan Coveny go for the jugular, or will he be content to sit back? Not at the moment, as a long ball for Gasparis. Not quite got the height to contest that one. Munoz. Gasper puts pressure on. Oh, it does beautifully, Gasparis. Unfortunately, can't quite hang on to it. And Vargas. Vargas living dangerously, taking on Nittis. And a lot of pressure here in the Green Gully backline. Nittis chasing down, and, well, this is an unusual way to get back into the game by Green Gully.
And particularly from a player like Andy Vargas too. Something so simple, looks so hard there for Green Gully.
Andy Vargas is a class player. Not sure he'd want that on his highlights reel. But then again, maybe he does.
Hockless. The run of Burton. And Burton has targets in the box. One of them, Drake, on the back post. Will it be a corner? No, a goal kick. And the ball got a deflection. Burton wanted the tall timber in Cameron Drake there on the far post and just couldn't keep the finish down.
Well, he was blocked out, it looked to me, by Steven Zois there. Couldn't quite get to it in time. Difficult chance. But you got to take anything when you're trailing. Zois. That long ball. Nittis putting the pressure on Medjedovic. Now Groenewald has to find a way through Mrkela. Decides to go back to Burton. Low flat ball, but Stefanou not bothered by that. And Recchia with the flick. Nittis chasing a lot of balls. Unfortunately, hasn't stolen one yet. Munoz. Now Groenewald. Goes for a bit of a run. Tees up now. Hockless on the edge. Hockless with a shot, and Peter Zois standing tall, standing firm.
And first time there from Graham Hockless. I see Groenewald's one on the edge of the box. First time, turn, crack, straight into the arms of Peter Zois. It was hotly struck and well held by Peter Zois.
Oh, Gasparis just sat down and waited for that one, and it fell in his lap. Now Fernando with a lovely turn. Tees up, couldn't quite hit Nittis. Wanted the foul. Jeffrey Fleming, tackle deemed legal by the referee. Now Vasilevski, as he's done so many times today, taking the ball away.
And has been in complete command of midfield for South Melbourne. Certainly one of South Melbourne's best this afternoon, Danny Vasilevski. Recchia has assistance wide, and Yusuf, he can nearly finish from here. Yusuf. Another promising attack coming undone, David.
An excellent attack, Simon. It was Fernando to Recchia, and I think sometimes you've got too much time to tee it up and too much time to think about that one, Yusuf. He should have just pulled the trigger straight away and instinctively gone for it. As we see more movement on the South Melbourne bench, it looks like Marino Gasparis with the slightest hint of a limp. He's been in the wars a bit today. Been running hard on the left-hand side, gets the applause from the fans. And young Sam Torrens, a couple of weeks out with injury, but a promising young player also joins the fray.
Manny Gasparis holding that hip. And hopefully for South Melbourne, he'll be okay. They've got a vital away game next week to the Dandenong Thunder. Last year's runners-up, who haven't got the best start to the season themselves, the Dandenong Thunder. Vasilevski will take it quickly. It didn't pay off.
Jeffrey Fleming getting his head in the way of that one. Nittis keeps contesting on the ground. Wanted a free kick, nothing coming. And now Torrens looking for his first touch. And that will be from the throw. Not the classiest of clearances by Ollerton, but they all count.
And South Melbourne, a great opportunity with just over 15 minutes remaining to really put the nail in Green Gully's coffin. You think another goal in the last 15 minutes could signal the end for the Cavaliers. They're certainly not out of this contest, trailing by 2-1. Yusuf, closely tracked by Burton. The assistance comes from Stefanou. Medjedovic. Hockless can turn. And he has Munoz wide. And a rare mistake from Graham Hockless. Both he and this man, Vasilevski, instrumental for both clubs in midfield this afternoon. Moraes or Recchia will take it. And Recchia coming off. He's in a spot of bother too, David.
Yes, had that knock a few minutes ago, and I suspect Coveny taking no risks. And why not when you can bring on your reigning MVP, Sebastian Petrovic? Recchia getting a warm applause from the fans, and Seb Petrovic will make his way into that central midfield position. I think he looks okay to me. Probably just a precaution by Vaughan Coveny.
Well, the last time we saw Sebastian Petrovic was South Melbourne's first game, not for points, against the National Training Centre. And he certainly looks sharp. And it's a luxury to have on the bench for Vaughan Coveny.
And he'll have a lot to prove here. Would want to be back in that starting lineup. Rama's free kick, not finding anything, but wins it back, and that's great competitive football. Fernando, who almost reached it through. Torrens. On the far side. Skips past the bigger man, Drake. Still going, Torrens. Well, he tried to take on everybody, and he's not a big man. A lot of heart and a lot of passion in that move. Oh, well done, Stefanou. Read that ball beautifully and puts Petrovic under a little bit of pressure, but they get it clear in the end. And unfortunately, Rama's ball couldn't reach Vasilevski. Groenewald. Well, keeps it at his feet. Turns inside. And Zois, a fantastic save. The shot from Groenewald. Well, he managed to keep the ball somehow at his feet. He had on a string for a moment. Got through the challenges and launched a shot. And Peter Zois, quick hands.
We were commenting on his touch too in the first half, having plenty of possession. But his finishing was letting him down, but not on that occasion from Josh Groenewald. As Peter Ollison's looking to the bench again. Michael Anderson will be coming off. And the question is, probably will be Robinson coming off. Time will tell. In fact, it's going to be that man, Groenewald. That's his reward for nearly finding the equaliser for Green Gully. A substitution being made with just over 10 minutes remaining. It'll be Michael Anderson coming on for Green Gully and coming off Josh Groenewald.
Yeah, worked hard today, Groenewald. No luck in the end. Really not quite perhaps getting the service he might have liked, but fought for it. Nearly managed to pull off a goal a few moments ago. Let's see what Anderson can do.
Last roll of the dice for Pete Olden. Michael Anderson, product of the Green Gully Juniors, making his senior debut last season. Coming on, fair challenge from Jeffrey Fleming. Here he is, Anderson, in his first touch. Munoz. The runner's wide there in Ollerton. Ollerton has to find his target with precision, and it's Robinson, however. The flag is up.
Yes, up nice and early there. And as it happens, couldn't quite get on the turn and shoot. But some shaky moments for South Melbourne. Green Gully will be desperately chasing that win, and as the buzz dies out of the game a bit, they won't want to get slack. We saw a couple of weeks ago, Melbourne Knights cough up not one, but two late goals from nowhere.
Well, bar that recent crack from Joshua Groenewald before he came off as a substitute, it's really one of the few times that Peter Zois has been tested in this half. It just really shows you the dominance that South Melbourne have had in terms of general field play. And they've been rewarded with the advantage thus far. And they've got just under 10 minutes to hold on to this lead. And leading Green Gully by 2-1. He was nearly through. There, Nittis. Anderson.
Stefanou getting in the way of that one. Well, the South defence holding firm since their defensive lapse in the first half. Although a bit of space here for Hockless on the far side. And Fleming, he combines, skips through. Dangerous moments here as Ollerton gets it from Vargas. And unfortunately, Ollerton's ball to no avail. Oh, but South Melbourne, they've stuffed the clearance. And James Stefanou putting his body on the line, and Torrens, and now they're away with Fernando.
South Melbourne will be lucky that Olinen whipped that ball in on his left boot. Would have preferred it on his right. I'm sure he would have found the target inside the box. Here he is again, and this time he's fouled.
Well, a delicate touch a moment ago from Fernando de Moraes to feed Sammy Torrens, who couldn't quite get it to Nittis, but it says something about the class of Fernando de Moraes.
Fleming, a high ball this for Anderson to deal with. Mrkela, he's been brilliant for South Melbourne this afternoon.
Yeah, Stiven Mrkela, probably more a central defender in a slightly different role, one he hasn't played terribly often here at South Melbourne, but acquitting himself beautifully in the absence of Rodri Payne on the left, Ramazan forcing to switch sides. As Yusuf flicks on Nittis. And trying to slow the tempo down a bit, South. Don't want to let Green Gully back in it at this late stage as we tick into the final 10 minutes. And Mrkela sends long. Cameron Drake, the lone man up. Rama heads forward. Aerial ping-pong the game. Rama, an exceptional ball for de Moraes. Deja vu. What can he do this time? De Moraes on the edge of the area, shoots, and oh! But for Gerohristodoulou on the line, that might have been, it may have even topped the first one.
It was a sense of deja vu. Tavsancioglu, another ball. This time de Moraes denied tipping over the bar. Gerohristodoulou.
Well, when you're hot, you're hot. And Fernando de Moraes is steaming. And he and Vasilevski having a polite discussion. Who's going to take the corner? Embarrassment of riches at set pieces at South Melbourne. And it will be Fernando. Odor and Stefanou make their way down.
Tavsancioglu, his passes have been immaculate this afternoon. Another corner for South Melbourne. Ollerton clearing. Here's Petrovic. Sends it back in. And nowhere near the target. Just on 5 minutes remaining in this contest. Gerohristodoulou needs to be in a hurry. Time ticking down for the Cavaliers to find an equaliser and possibly a late point in this game. Vasilevski.
Oh.
Miscued. Hockless. And Anderson could be through. What a touch there. Tavsancioglu went from supply there to de Moraes moments ago to clearing on the last line.
He throws every piece of himself in these games, does Rama. And that's just a perfect example of how, as Seba putting his own body on the line there, but to no avail. And Gully trying to find something at this late stage. South Melbourne will be happy for that final whistle. They'll just want that win. And Youssef contesting, and they've won it back here, South, as Rama. Exquisite skills. Almost too good.
They certainly were exquisite. Fernando de Moraes, he certainly is a magnificent player, and great to have him in this league. Green Gully looking to forge an attack once again. It's Rama Tavsancioglu clearing and clearing well. Drake. Here's Ollerton. And
oh, that's a poor pass from a player who is better than that.
Absolutely. Green Gully coughing up possession quite easily there.
Ollerton will be disgusted with himself. As Ramazan had a good game himself today. Looks to get something going on the left. Now Gully, and he's through here, Anderson. Stefanou giving chase. Oh, and well, I tell you what, you won't get a better chance than that, Simon.
You certainly won't. And Anderson measured his run to perfection on Stefanou, and that surely could be the last roll of the dice for Green Gully. It was on a plate there for Michael Anderson to finish. That's exactly why Peter Ollerton brought him on. And all he had to do was beat Zois from 10 yards out and couldn't find the target.
Well, we could give a little bit of a break to him by suggesting Stefanou's hassling and his chasing may have just put him off his step a bit, but I think in the end that's a dreadful miscue, and he will be absolutely gutted. Now, while all this is happening, Simon, a South player gone down. It is James Stefanou, who was giving chase there. I wonder if he's fallen awkwardly.
He's either fallen awkwardly or has a spot of cramp. And hopefully it's the latter. South Melbourne, potentially with 1 or 2 injury headaches of their own. Carl Recchia, Marino Gasparis, and James Stefanou. Looks as though he will be immediately coming off for treatment.
Yes, and I suspect a reshuffle is in order. It looks like Sammy Torrens will be playing as a wide left back. And Fernando and Vasilevski, I expect, with Petrovic to drop back and help out a bit more. They'll be happy to knock this one about for a while. Although perhaps Stefanou might be ready to go on. And he's all right here, James Stefanou.
And good to see, because Vaughan Coveny didn't have the luxury of turning to his bench. All 3 substitutions made.
Well, interestingly, Stefanou has made his way to centre forward, or something quite near it, as Yusuf on the run. Pressure on Medjedovic and wins the throw in front of Clarendon corner.
There was good pressure too. Yusuf. Just a few minutes remaining here at Bob Jane Stadium. South Melbourne leading Green Gully by 2-1. He's searching for an option. Is Yusuf. He finds one. Nittis. He's been quiet by his liking this afternoon.
Oh, good ball by Yusuf.
Bit of luck, but he's through. Yusuf to put the nail in Green Gully's coffin. It's cleared frantically there by Ollerton. And can the Cavaliers hit on the counter? Munoz. Vargas. Anderson's through. Can he redeem himself? Has a runner on the inside too. Munoz. Anderson will pull the trigger. It copped a deflection. Nothing difficult for Zois to handle. Lovely transition on the counter there from Green Gully, as we'll see. And Anderson, his strike, straight into the arms of Zois. Drake, down the line.
Now, Sammy Torrens got to keep a cool head here. Not time for anything silly. Fernando wants it long, but very bunched up here on the near side. Well, he obliges with the long throw, and in the end, Cameron Drake probably didn't really need to lunge so desperately at that. Mistakes start to come when you get tired. He's been good today, Drake. On that occasion, coughing up the throw. Clever move there by Sammy Torrens, just picking out the lone defender. But Munoz. Oh, Odor in the air, as always. First class.
Medjedovic. Anderson could be through. Had 2 to beat. Anderson has this time a shot. And Anderson, well, I thought he was going to lose it there, David. And able to find some room as the ball spilt through 2 defenders. This time found the target, but couldn't beat the defences of Peter Zois.
Well, Peter Zois has earned his paycheck today. A couple of one-on-one saves here.
And although Green Gully may have been outplayed in patches in the second half, they've certainly had their chances in the latter stages of this game. 2 shots on goal there from Anderson, 1 to Groenewald. That was denied by Zois. And here the Cavaliers go again. Anderson has Munoz wide, plays it short. Fleming. Hockless can finish. Fleming, can he do so? Blocked by Nittis and eventually cleared by Mrkela. South Melbourne living dangerously. Holding on to this lead. As we'll see, Fleming could have struck first time himself. Opted to lay it off.
Well, they are just playing with fire here, South Melbourne. And again, ball bobbling in the box and handball, but not for the danger side. Cameron Drake getting a touch on that one. And as we tick on to 45 minutes, and 90 minutes in fact, a few hairy moments for South Melbourne. Another injury. Looks like the sun and the running may be playing havoc with a bit of cramp on the South Melbourne players.
It looks as though that's the case, David. But it's Fernando de Moraes that's down.
Well, he has run a lot today. I wouldn't be surprised if he's starting to hurt a bit. Meanwhile, the other man who was playing down the back and got a bit sore has turned himself into a centre forward. James Stefanou taking over from Gianni to Nittis. Not a role he's probably played terribly often.
And they're walking wounded, South Melbourne, but I'm sure the pain will ease if they can hold on for 1 or 2 more minutes and seal their first victory for the season. Burton. And the Clarendon corner in full voice. They sense a first home victory for the season and the first victory for the season, nevertheless, for South Melbourne.
Well, they're always in good voice no matter where they go. But I'm sure they'd be even finer voice if they could pull off this win today. It's eluded them. Haven't tasted a winning feeling here since the final round of last season, when Fernando de Moraes again was the goal scorer and taking it away from Martin John's feet. Not the classiest he's ever scored, but an interesting one.
Green Gully, one of the last rolls of the dice for the Cavaliers to find a point. And another yellow card to be issued here. This time, it's Danny Vasilevski.
I suspect that might have been dissent on that occasion. Vasilevski was a few paces off the ball when the incident occurred. It was Tavsancioglu.
And an interesting conversation happening here between Green Gully players and the referee, suggesting that incident occurred inside the box. Luckily for South, it's literally on the edge.
Well, I reckon if there was a centimetre less of paint, we would have seen a penalty. As we're in injury time, and this is a very dangerous situation.
And it's the old cliche, it literally is the last roll of the dice for Green Gully. Andy Vargas takes it, low driving ball into the arms of Zois. To the relief of the crowd here at Bob Jane Stadium.
Well, those ones can get through any occasion, Simon. They're low, they're fast, they're dangerous. Peter Zois gets his body behind it comfortably. And now Petrovic in midfield. Nittis wins it for Vasilevski. Flicked up now. Fernando chases on the right-hand side. He's got to get around Burton. Burton beats it to him and thumps it away. Petrovic again. Putting Rama under a bit of pressure here. Well, Munoz. What can he produce? An excellent ball. Vargas on the edge of the area has to find something. He finds Ollerton. Ollerton flicks in. It's up and the header just over. And I think that was Nicholas Robinson there. He got up to it. A good long penetrating cross by Ollerton. And Robinson parked there in a crowd. Difficult chance. Might have been the last.
He leapt over the pack. Nicholas Robinson and Green Gully have certainly had their chances in the last 5 minutes. In fact, their best period of football in this half being played at the end. They've certainly had their chances to find a late point. Nicholas Robinson immediately comes to mind with that one-on-one chance with Peter Zois. And again, the Cavaliers continue to go forward.
And every South shirt on the pitch willing the referee to pick up the whistle. Final whistle cannot be far away.
It definitely can't be. We thought the set piece from Andy Vargas could be the last piece of play. We're definitely into stoppage time. Another deep ball sent in. Munoz won it. Low driving ball. Fleming, open goal. Charge down on the line. I think it was Mrkela. And on that note, full time is signalled. And what a dramatic end to this contest. As we see on the replay, Jeffrey Fleming nearly snatched a point from nowhere. South Melbourne clear. And on that note, get their first victory of the season at home at Bob Jane Stadium. And what an entertaining end to this contest, David.
Peter Zois, what a legend. throwing his body on the line, throwing everything at it and just keeping out Jeffrey Fleming, and the last desperate touch there. Green Gully, oh, they'll be gutted. They had the chances, they couldn't take them, and South Melbourne a deserved victory. We've seen an interesting game, we've seen a highly entertaining game, we've seen a mix of the good, the bad, the ugly, we've seen it all.
It was a deserved victory, nevertheless, by South Melbourne. They definitely had the better of Green Gully in the second half, but the Cavaliers, and to their credit, definitely hit hard in the last 15 minutes and could have easily equalised.
Absolutely. I think a couple of great chances there. Anderson will be hanging his head wondering how he didn't manage to connect with that one, and Fleming would have thought that was goal bound for all money. But for Peter Zois, a heroic display there at the end.
And turning our attention to South Melbourne, what about the class and display of Rama Tavsancioglu, his defending, and that assist to Fernando de Moraes to set up what was the winner?
We've always known Rama is a tough customer. He's a hard player. He throws his passion, his body, and everything at it. Today we saw the other side of him, and that's the classy, skilled footballer that he is, providing an absolutely perfect ball for Fernando de Moraes, and it was matched in kind with the most amazing finish you will see here on Bob Jones Stadium.
Well, Fernando de Moraes scored 2. And for Green Gully, it was Gary Wales. It's South Melbourne 2, Green Gully 1. South Melbourne get their season on track. After 3 draws, consecutive draws, it took round 4 to notch their first win of the season. And as for Green Gully, well, they've already got 1 win for the year, and that was against Richmond. They've got 2 losses and a draw, and they'll be looking to the drawing board when they take on the reigning champions next year. And on that note, David, we'll be turning our attention to Mia Hayes on the sideline, and she's with the successful coach of South Melbourne, Vaughan Coveny.
Thanks, guys. I've got Vaughan Coveny here. Congratulations on the first win of the season.
Yeah, thanks. Look, we've had 3 draws to date, but today just puts a pleasant smile on everybody's faces. I think it brings a lot of confidence.
Excellent. There was a lot of expectations on your team at the start of the year. You did a lot of recruiting. Yep. It must feel great to get that first win.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's been a little bit unsettling. We've had players out injured, with injuries and so forth. So we're slowly getting our, best team on the park, and, today showed that, we're going to be competitive this year.
Great. So you do have a couple of injuries out of today's game, Recchia and Yusuf. What's the story with them?
Yeah, we're not sure yet. We'll just assess them after the game and all this week. So hopefully Carl will be all right. Joey got a heavy knock in the first half. So we sort of, got a few injuries at the moment. So we just have to manage those.
And personally for you, your first year of coaching, how's it going so far?
Yeah, no, look, it's a good challenge. It's a lot different than playing, and a few more heart flutters here and there. So, but I'm really enjoying it, and we've got a lot of support behind me, and the fans and the supporters are really looking after us. So, at this stage, I'm happy, but it's early days.
And to next week, you've got Dandenong Thunder. It's always a tough trip down to George Andrews Reserve. Yep,
definitely. Look, again, we're expecting another tough game down there. Stuart will have his team revved up for next week. Obviously, been at home and coming off a loss against Oakley. So, we'll prepare ourselves well and hopefully go down there and take some points.